Okay, so this is number 22. History, oops, number 21. And this is about what are some of the biggest events in your life and how did they affect you and did they change you as a person. And so as you think back, there's typically a handful of events. I've got 3, 6, 9 events in my life that had an impact on me and changed me. The very first one is I was adopted at the age of 2.5. My biological dad, Wilmot, died in just after the war, 1945, fall of 1945, and I was adopted by Patberg, Hugo Warren Patberg, and that's a big deal to have a father instead of being raised by a single mother, especially when my mom had some health problems. So looking back, it was huge. Of course, I didn't realize it for the longest time, but so appreciative. And that had an impact on me whether I realized it or not. The next big thing I can think of is when I got out of high school and joined the Army. I got out of high school in June and I was in the Army and on my way first part of August. And that gave me discipline, which I appreciated, and beginning of a work ethic. You didn't have to work very hard in the service, but it did give me the beginning of a work ethic. And then after I got out of the Army, a couple of years later, I joined my dad, Hugo Warren, in his pile driving business in New Jersey. And that elicited changes as well. I don't know how good a worker I was before that, but I came away from that after 6.5 years thinking, yeah, I'm a good worker. I work hard, and I see things to the end, and I owe that to my dad for letting me come be with him in the business. Along the way, I got married. Huge. Focus changes, life changes, living with somebody, that changes, the art of compromise, etc. I love it. But it was a big change, and you have to get used to it. It's a wonderful change. Then having kids, wow, that's a big deal. You have to provide for them. There's pressure there. It's wonderful and fun and exciting, but it's also a bit of pressure. So you have to make it now. You can't mess around. It's not just 2 of you, it's 3 or more. Wonderful. And right in there, right after Chris was born, we joined the LDS Church. Well, he was just about 9 months old when we joined. That was profoundly changing our lives, both of us, and we began to do service, which we never even thought of doing before. Doing things for other people, being part of something bigger than yourself. So it was just huge, and it continues to this day to affect me and how I think about things, how I feel about things, what I do, what I don't do. So that was huge. 2 years after, I went to college, came out to Utah. At that time we had Chris and Jen, and we drove cross country and came to go to college. And obviously college changes. It was a different kind of hardness, studying and trying to be good at math, which I'm not necessarily. I worked very, very hard. Good thing I'd worked for my dad and gotten a decent work ethic, because it was really needed. I had to work very hard. I remember studying in our basement in Bountiful, covered with, it was right off the laundry room, so clothes were always hanging up drying, and I had a little military desk and a little light in there by myself, and I'd get up early because I didn't do well studying late, but getting up early, I wouldn't fall asleep. So college just changed so many things. I became a civil engineer. My goodness sakes, coming from a construction worker to a civil engineer, you can imagine that's huge. By the way, I think I started school when I was 29. Matt started school to become an architect when he was in his early 30s. Next big milestone, because I was an engineer, I got different kind of opportunities, and we had an opportunity to go to Arkansas as a family, and we had 5 kids by this time. And Arkansas was great for the family. It brought us closer together, relied on each other more. A close-knit Mormon community, because a little bit of backlash from other religious groups in Arkansas, and so it bound us together closer as a family. And also the kids got very close to their counterparts in church, and they hung out at church a lot because of influences, and some people didn't like Mormons. It's just the way it is. The next thing that came up that was a big deal, huge for changing life, was called to be bishop in Midvale 7th Ward in Midvale, Utah. Served there 6 plus years, and suddenly have responsibility, ecclesiastical responsibility, spiritual responsibility, and temporal, for members of the ward, anywhere from 450 to 500 members. And took a lot of time, probably 25, 30 hours a week, and you just do it. You put your head down, just do it. Certainly I couldn't have done that when I first joined the church, but by this time I'd been in the church for very close to, well, between 35 and 40 years, and had been serving for a long time, so it was just another position to serve in. But it was different because you got up close and personal with people in their lives and try to help them to change for the better, and so it was a growing experience, and it gives you a lot more empathy for people and their situations, and you realize what a wonderful life you have. And so it was another change thing for me, hopefully for the better. And the last one was coming to grips with being retired. I'm retired, but I tried it a couple times and was unsuccessful. I'd go back to work, and I retired last March or April in 2016. But I didn't really retire mentally until probably the fall, maybe September, October timeframe. And I'm retired now. I love it. I don't think I would go back. I just have things going on that I like to do, and I'm happy about it. And so that's for this week, and appreciate you all, and have a great day.